All right, good morning, or pardon me, good afternoon, and welcome to our second virtual event series. This month is all about career support, and we are ready to part two, changing careers. I'm Stephanie Wetzel with the EWU Office of Alumni Relations, and today we have a wonderful guest joining us, Robin, Associate Director of the EWU Career Center. Good afternoon, Robin. How are you doing?
I'm good, Stephanie. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I know. Goodness, I can't believe this heat wave we are having.
That's true. I have been melting a little bit, but I reapplied my makeup, so I should be good to go for the camera.
Yep, I love it. I love it. Well, I sure hope you're staying safe and healthy during all these unprecedented months. And we really appreciate you joining today to discuss changing careers, whether by choice, whether by choice or, due to circumstances. Changing careers really never is an easy feat. And I know that you have some great tips and resources to help, and I'm really excited to explore this topic. So to kick us off, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What questions do you recommend people ask themselves prior to making such a huge decision?
That's a great question. So the very first question I ask an alum who is coming to me and asking about, I'm thinking about changing careers. My very first question is, well, why? And that might seem kind of trite or simple, but understanding your why is a super great place to start. And to be quite honest, I get a lot of really good information from just simply asking, well, why are you thinking about changing careers? What has brought you to this point in your professional life of thinking about making a career change? Tell me about that. Tell me more. Tell me why you're thinking about that. So that's the first question I would ask anyone to consider when they're thinking about a career change. Also, I would ask an alum or anybody to consider what are your interests? What are you drawn to? What are you excited about? Sometimes we have interests that we've always had that maybe we just haven't pursued yet. So what are you interested in, and what are you excited about? What do you feel like your strengths are? What do you feel like your skill set is? And what are your work and life values? And that kind of sounds a little bit deep, and it is, and it's really important at any point in our professional careers, but especially when someone's thinking about making a career change, to really be able to discern for yourself, what are my life and work values, and how do I want to create or design my life forward? So if I'm thinking about making a career change, what's my why, and how do I want to move forward? How do I want to design this life for myself that includes the world of work? And so that your work and life values are in alignment with one another.
Absolutely.
That would be another question that I would pose. And then lastly, and I'm sure that there's more, but if additional education is required, hypothetically, to move into a different career, is that something that you're willing to explore? Is that something you're able to maybe do for yourself? And so that would be another important question that I would ask somebody to consider.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think these are really great questions you are offering to think about. I know that I recently actually completed a master's degree and I changed jobs. I'm only about 6-7 months into this role, and I've had these exact conversations with my family and friends, and they ask me, like, what do you want? What's your intention? And so I think those questions are absolutely spot on. So thank you.
Of course.
Do you have any recommendations around resources or activities for people to get involved in or engage with that help us brainstorm career options?
Sure, absolutely. And I think the brainstorming process is kind of key when one is thinking about potentially changing careers. So If you have never done a career assessment, or you haven't done any kind of career assessments for maybe a long time, I think that that's a great brainstorming tool. At the EWU Career Center, we actually offer the MBTI and the Strong Interest Inventory. So alums and obviously current students, but alums have access to, take those assessments, and those can be great brainstorming devices in terms of, here's my personality, here is my interest inventory, what careers might fit me. Some of them maybe I've thought about before, but there can be some ideas that come from some of those assessments that might give an alumni some additional careers to think about. So assessments is a activity or resource I think could be great. In terms of an activity, something I've asked some of alums that I've met with, use your resume, get out your resume. And it could be your updated resume, and you might even have an older resume saved somewhere in some file on your computer. And go through your resume, job by job. And I don't care if you're even looking at a resume that has some high school experience on it, but go through it job by job, bullet point by bullet point, and look at all the tasks that you've done in those particular positions.
Yeah.
And try to, circle all the tasks that you have had in all of these jobs throughout your life thus far, and which ones were energizing to you, which ones brought you the most joy, which ones were you engaged in that you felt the most connected and excited about. And then conversely, have another kind of column where you're circling those job tasks or activities that you've done in your work life that maybe have been energy depleting.
Right.
Those kinds of tasks that brought you less joy and less happiness. And, no matter what kind of career we're in, obviously, there are certain work tasks that energize us more than others. But one of the reasons why this is a great activity is because sometimes you can see patterns emerge that might really give you some insight into what other career you might be good at, or, maybe there's a pattern that emerges that would be really interesting or striking for you to see, and that might help you when you're thinking about potential future careers. So that would be an activity I would suggest. In terms of a resource, I'm a really big fan of the Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Outlook Handbook. That is a mouthful. Otherwise known as the BLS-OOH. And this is, are you familiar with this at all, Stephanie?
I am not.
Okay, let me illuminate you, my friend. This is this awesome occupational database where you can look for careers underneath different job families, or you could use their search engine and, let's say, I'm thinking about occupational therapy or something in healthcare, but I don't know what. And so utilizing that resource, it gives you an awesome amount of information about careers. What kind of activities or tasks are involved in that particular job? What kind of education do you need in order to do that job? What environment would you work in if you worked in this job? What's the average pay? What's the job outlook? And then one of my favorite parts of this is there's a tab called similar occupations. So if you're looking up one and then you click on similar occupations, you're literally going to get an additional list of occupations that are related to the first one you looked up, but different. And it's awesome because sometimes there could be careers listed there that you don't know anything about. Maybe you've never even heard of it. And it could be an additional brainstorming device in terms of, wow, what's a recreation therapist? Let me look into that, or whatever that is for you. So the OOH is a great resource. In terms of another activity, simply writing down in sort of like a mind mapping situation of all the potential careers you may be interested in. And try not to spend, I would suggest not overthinking it. Just write down everything you're interested in. And then maybe do an assessment of your transferable skills. That could be another activity. I think that sometimes we undervalue what transferable skills we have, no matter what career we're currently in. I guarantee everyone we have transferable skills to another industry, 100%. So that's those are just a few ideas.
I love it. Well, that's an extensive list. I might have to grab that URL from you so we can share that on our Facebook page after today's conversation.
I have a few more ideas, but I know I can be verbose, so I'm trying really hard. I
appreciate that. I have one question that kind of had to go with the Myers-Briggs test that you shared. Does the Career Center have that as a free resource, or is that something that people can Google for free online usually to do those type of personality tests?
There's a really great, I would call it a knockoff version of the Myers-Briggs type indicator for free. And it's the 16personalities.com site. And that is also listed under the assessments tab on their Career Center's website. We do list the 16 personalities. In terms of a knockoff free version, it's pretty good. We offer the MBTI and the Strong through the Career Center. Both of them are, modestly priced, and so that is absolutely a opportunity for alums to utilize that service. Our Career Center, just as a side note, our Career Center, we're really proud of our Career Center in general, but one of the things in particular that we think is awesome is that some alums at other institutions are actually charged to utilize their Career Center after they graduate. But the EWU Career Center is free. Our services are offered to alums for life. And so we really want that message to get out into the community that once an Eagle, always an Eagle, and that you can certainly utilize all of our services that we have available.
Certainly, yeah. We always say in the alumni office, Eagle for life, right? And I think that couldn't be rung any truer. So thank you for reiterating that. That's fantastic.
Of course.
Well, cool. Well, I did want to move on to the next question I had for you. I was curious kind of how you would recommend or what your thoughts are around people test driving some of these options that they find. I think there's value in a variety of ways to test drive it. So I was just curious on your insights.
Absolutely. I am a huge advocate of experiential opportunities. I always tell students you need to make it real for yourself, and that same advice is applicable to alums. In fact, most of the advice that I give to undergrads is very similar. It's the same advice I would give to an alum. It's the same advice I would give anybody, quite frankly. One awesome way to test drive a possible new career is by setting up some informational interviews. So for those who don't know what that is, it's basically you're not setting up an interview to interview for a job, but you're setting up an interview with somebody that has a career that you're interested in to bombard that person or people with really awesome questions. And some examples would be, how did you decide that you wanted to be a fill in the blank? What do you love about your job? What are the highlights of your job, and what are some challenges in your job? Kind of like, give me the pros, give me the cons. I might ask, what personality characteristics do you feel like are the best fit for somebody who's considering this particular career? If you had to go back in time and do it all over again, would you still choose to be a PT? Would you still choose to be an OT, or whatever that is? And informational interviewing is invaluable. It can give you so much really great insight into what the job is actually like. Given our COVID situation, normally one of my mantras is kind of like, get into the world, right? Get out there, get your feet wet, try things out, volunteer, job shadow. And I still stand by those recommendations. When it's safe and you are able to do so, there is no better way beyond the informational interviewing in terms of getting a real world feel for what this career could be like than being in the environment being around the people who have this kind of job that you're interested in, that can be invaluable as you're kind of thinking about a career path, maybe before you're committing to it, to test drive. So engaging in those activities when safe. Another idea I have for test driving a possible career path is considering starting a side hustle.
Ooh, I like that.
Depending on the career that you're considering, having some sort of gig, a little, picking up some sort of project, picking up a gig job, even if it's something that you do super part-time, maybe you're not even getting paid for it, but it's a way for you to test drive a career before actually committing to it. And obviously there's some careers where getting a side hustle, you can't get a side hustle as a I don't know, an OT. But there are certain careers where, trying to get a little side hustle going is a great way to kind of test the waters before fully jumping in. So I would recommend that. This is related to informational interviewing. It's definitely related. It's inviting alums to get involved with our brand new exciting Eagle Career Network.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that would be a way for alums not only to become mentors themselves, but also to connect with other fellow Eagles. What a beautiful idea to be able to connect with your fellow Eagles on the ECN, the Eagle Career Network. And, if you're thinking about changing a career, find an Eagle, find a fellow Eagle alum that has that career that you're considering. That would be awesome. I highly recommend that as an option. And then obviously, talking to faculty members, let's just say you're considering changing your career and you're thinking about urban planning. I would implore and invite our alums to reach out to faculty members and directors of some of our awesome programs. They would be more than happy to talk to you about their program and opportunities that you can have through garnering perhaps an additional degree. So those are a few ideas.
I love that. Those are fantastic. I really appreciate you sharing about the Eagle Career Network. And I think that's a great idea on the job shadowing as well, right? When I graduated from undergrad, I definitely took advantage of it. It's can be anxiety driven in a sense. You kind of get a little anxious about reaching out to some professionals, but usually people are extremely open about it, I found. And they were just excited that somebody was interested to talk to them about how they got to where they are today in their career journey. So I think those are absolutely tangible. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Well, cool. Well, I will move on. And so my next question is, what kind of support do you need, or do you think people need to change careers and to get to where they want to be?
So in terms of support, thinking about obviously financial implications of career changing. So, what is your financial situation in terms of financial support? What's your support system in terms of your family and friends? What kind of emotional support system do you have in your life? Thinking about those people that we have to support our new journey into a new career. And then also, I would say finding a mentor is really important when you're thinking about changing a career. So, beyond the informational interviewing, actually finding a mentor in that perhaps new industry that you're considering is invaluable in terms of tapping a resource, tapping somebody who's been in that particular career for a while and can really help guide you and coach you and be a really good mentor for you. And then I would also say, like, what's your self-support system? And what I mean by that is, what's your plan for taking care of yourself? What's your self-care plan? Because making a career change, whether it's by creation, design, or you're kind of almost being forced into it, whatever your particular situation is, you really need to take care of yourself and have a plan for your self-care.
No, I think that's super valid. Mentorship can be really hard to come by. And so even like you said in the previous question, reaching out to faculty and staff or departments and just kind of utilizing those resources, they can easily and quickly become mentors. And so I think that's fantastic. And the self-care, my gosh, I can't believe how many times I forget to make that a priority. And so I'm so glad and thankful that you included that in your response to this question. So.
Sure.
Well, cool. Well, I know we're getting close to our end of time, so I just wanted to ask you, what are your top takeaways for those listening today? I know that you and I had talked previously about a book too that you might have to recommend. So feel free.
Yes.
I'd love to hear what your thoughts are.
Sure. I think in terms of top takeaways, I would sort of recap and say, you know, be able to answer your why.
Mm-hmm.
Be able to answer your why. Do a self-assessment of your interests, your values, your skills. Utilize your EWU Career Center. We are here to help you. We can help you in so many different ways. We can help point you towards resources and so many other opportunities that you have with the EWU Career Center in terms of help. And in terms of a book that I wanted to mention that I really love, I actually have it here as a visual. Like I have a prop.
Yes.
I have a prop. It's called Designing Your Life. And it's by Bill Burnett and Dave Evans. And these are two professors from Stanford who actually started a course at Stanford. I think it's a 2 or 3 credit class, and it was one of the most popular classes at Stanford. So it's kind of going back to one of my first answers I gave, things that you should be thinking about before you change careers. It's what kind of life do I want to design for myself? So this is beyond just, choosing another career. It's what kind of life do I want to create? Right. And the Designing Your Life book is awesome. It's an easy read. There's great exercises and activities in here that are very, very useful, especially for people who have some work experience under their belt. Mm-hmm. I think it's actually more applicable for people who have a little bit of life experience. So I highly recommend that book. And I guess my last takeaway would just be, please seek us out, EWU alums. We are here to help you. And mm-hmm. And that's it.
Oh, that's fantastic. I've added that book officially to my reading list. I would say my summer reading list, but my goodness, September's around the corner, so it's going to have to add to my fall reading list.
I understand.
I really appreciate all these great tips today, Robin. I can't thank you enough for joining us. I hope everybody who's listening today got some of their questions answered. If not, find us on Facebook and feel free to plug those questions. Look forward to next week, Wednesday, August 26th at noon Pacific Standard Time for our third and final series in this career support. And we're going to have an alumni and career support expert, Scott Barlow, joining us next week. So stay in touch with the EWU Alumni Association online at ewu.edu/alumni, where you'll find information on our future virtual events and programs like our new Eagle Wine Flights Wine Club. Pardon me. Have a great rest of your day. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Of course.
Go Eags.
Go Eags.